The executives running the WNBA honestly believe they own the biggest star in the entire world, assuming they could hand her a miserable rookie salary while forcing her to smile for their cameras. Total panic has completely overtaken the corrupt front office because a massive rival league just dropped a historic bag on the table, and that unprecedented offer is actively tearing the traditional league apart from the inside out. $76,000 is the exact pathetic contract amount they handed the athlete who single-handedly rescued their completely sinking ship. The old guard is currently facing a total financial meltdown as their long-standing monopoly dies a rapid death, which means the ruthless war for basketball's ultimate weapon has officially begun.
Yo, if you love real basketball stories, deep dives, and the drama behind the game, you're in the right place. But if you want to take it to the next level, hit that join button. Members get exclusive content, early access, and behind-the-scenes drops you won't see anywhere else. Plus, you're directly supporting the channel and helping us bring you even better content. So if you rock with Basketball Spilled, become a member today. Let's keep the game alive.
Playing a highly dangerous game with their golden goose backfired completely on the traditional league. Executives genuinely expected blind loyalty after starving their players for decades. But what nobody expected was the unrivaled league stepping up to completely flip the entire sport upside down overnight. A record-shattering seven-figure deal currently sits right in front of her, representing far more than just a standard contract to play a few meaningless off-season games. This massive takeover package completely redefines athlete compensation by including significant equity in the actual business, alongside a massive revenue-sharing agreement. Offering her direct ownership effectively hands her the keys to the entire castle. Sweating right through their expensive suits, the WNBA executives finally realize their absolute control is slipping away forever. For countless decades, these corporate suits held a total monopoly on professional women's basketball across America, forcing elite athletes to fly commercial airlines and sleep in cheap roadside motels. Building a deeply toxic culture of ultimate control and financial suppression created a dark trap that left players without a single ounce of actual leverage. The rival venture completely called their bluff by exposing the sheer greed hiding behind the curtain. $35 million in solid private funding secured by the new 3-on-3 league completely changes the financial landscape of women's sports. Locking down a massive television broadcast deal with a major network immediately followed that cash injection. This completely proves the immense market value the traditional league desperately tried to hide. Paying a guaranteed base salary of at least six figures for just 8 short weeks of actual work absolutely destroys the current wage scale. Generating that kind of wealth in 2 months completely eclipses what most WNBA players earn during an entire grinding season of relentless physical abuse. The profound disrespect shown by the front office remains absolutely staggering. Milking her incredible global stardom allowed them to sell out massive arenas across the entire country week after week. Utilizing her recognizable face to heavily negotiate billion-dollar television deals for themselves line the pockets of the exact people refusing to pay her. Watching ticket prices completely skyrocket while merchandise consistently flew off the warehouse shelves should have resulted in a massive payday for the players. Handing her a relentlessly grueling travel schedule accompanied by a literal pocketful of spare change was the only miserable reward she ever received for completely saving their entire failing operation. Sitting high up in their luxury boxes, the executives simply laughed. Believing they forever held all the power proved to be a fatal miscalculation because the entire dynamic just shifted permanently in the opposite direction, leaving them completely defenseless against this new threat. Striking directly at the absolute heart of the WNBA's biggest structural weakness is exactly how Unrivaled operates right now. Executing their hostile takeover with ruthless precision and seemingly unlimited financial resources allows them to entirely rewrite the rulebook. Expanding their official rosters specifically to build a customized super team directly around her was a brilliantly calculated chess move. Aggressively signing her closest personal friends and former college teammates makes walking away from this massive offer practically impossible for any sane person. Creating a highly irresistible environment completely separated from the relentless daily drama offers a genuine breath of fresh air. Building a legitimate safe haven away from the deeply toxic politics of the traditional league structure provides exactly what the players constantly demanded. Pressuring athletes to remain blindly loyal was the only pathetic strategy the WNBA tried to use to maintain their suffocating grip. Waking up to the massive ongoing scam is exactly what the players are doing right now. Implementing a truly athlete-centric model gives the new venture a massive competitive advantage. Giving the actual players a totally unfiltered voice alongside a highly lucrative share of the massive profits completely changes the power dynamic. Wanting absolutely nothing to do with real player empowerment has always been the dark secret defining the WNBA front office. Demanding entirely obedient employees rather than wealthy business partners fueled their manipulative negotiation tactics for several consecutive decades. Expecting total submission from their exhausted stars worked perfectly until this massive financial alternative emerged as a direct, undeniable threat to their completely shady and outdated business model. Earning well over a solid $1 million for just 3 short months of work completely obliterates the entire accepted salary scale. Looking at that massive number instantly makes the current collective bargaining agreement look like an absolute, insulting joke to everyone involved. Knowing that accepting this unprecedented offer will immediately swing the floodgates wide open absolutely terrifies the front office executives currently hiding in New York. Realizing their true market worth will instantly convince every single star player to violently reject the spare pennies the traditional league routinely throws in their direction. Refusing to step foot on the court for an organization that blatantly disrespects them is the natural next step. Crumbling rapidly under the intense, unrelenting pressure of actual free market competition is exactly what happens to a poorly managed monopoly. Crafting a completely fake public narrative about carefully protecting the players took months of coordinated media manipulation. Claiming the entire organization needed to grow at a painfully slow, highly sustainable pace was nothing more than a calculated lie designed to strictly justify the pathetic paychecks they handed out. Hoarding the massive surging profits was their real priority. And this is where it gets worse, because exposing this massive, unchecked corporate greed to the entire world is exactly what the rival league accomplished in a matter of weeks. Showing the global sports audience that the necessary money actually exists fundamentally destroys the WNBA's favorite defensive argument. Refusing to fairly distribute that vast wealth was a highly conscious, incredibly malicious choice made by the out-of-touch executives. Securing this ultimate financial revenge feels completely justified for a superstar who found herself violently targeted by jealous opponents all season long. Taking completely unprovoked cheap shots on the hardwood while the official referees intentionally looked the other way became a disturbing nightly routine. Dealing constantly with deeply manipulative veterans who desperately wanted to tear her public image down took a massive mental toll. Enduring a notoriously toxic locker room culture that the league completely ignored simply pushed her closer to the exit door. Refusing to protect their biggest financial asset highlights their sheer incompetence. Turning a completely blind eye toward the extreme locker room jealousy and the highly targeted physical attacks ultimately forced her hand. Holding absolutely all the valuable cards right now gives her the ultimate authority to heavily dictate the final terms of her employment, which means the executives can only sit back and watch. Walking away permanently and taking millions of highly loyal, paying fans directly with her remains a devastatingly real possibility. Redefining the brutal, entirely outdated economics of the sport is the true ultimate goal of the Unrivaled venture, going far beyond simply asking her to play a few games. Treating her exactly like the massive global icon, she clearly is directly contrasts with the unbelievable disrespect aggressively withheld by the WNBA. Knowing exactly how to dismantle the old system comes completely naturally to the rival league founders because they experienced the terrible leadership firsthand. Living through those horrific travel conditions and cashing those pathetic, openly insulting paychecks gave them the exact blueprint needed to destroy the old way of doing things. Desperately trying to somehow save face right now is the only pathetic move the traditional league has left in their extremely limited playbook. Frantically leaking completely fake stories to incredibly friendly media members serves as a hilariously transparent attempt to artificially manipulate public opinion. Buying those pathetic lies is something the public absolutely refuses to do. Pouring massive amounts of serious private investment capital into the rival league definitively proves the WNBA vastly undervalued its own highly lucrative product. operating exactly like a completely broken poverty franchise while literally sitting directly on top of a massive, previously untapped gold mine, is a staggering failure of basic business leadership. Launching a highly calculated, heavily aggressive hostile takeover is exactly what is happening in front of our eyes right now. Publicly calling out the incredibly weak WNBA leadership without a single moment of hesitation immediately established the new league as a serious, legitimate threat, and that changed everything. Directly labeling those specific executives as the absolute worst leadership group in the entire world was a massive, highly public shot right across the bow. Agreeing completely with every single word of that harsh assessment, the hero of our story poured massive amounts of gasoline straight onto the raging fire, validating every single massive criticism leveled directly at the wealthy executives. Delivered a completely devastating, highly embarrassing blow to the WNBA's deeply fragile ego. Silencing her completely and strictly controlling her public statements was the ultimate goal of the front office, but they failed miserably to keep her in line. Sitting unprecedented in sports history, the current offer changes absolutely everything. Providing a highly lucrative sliding scale of shared revenue based entirely on her genuinely massive social media following is a fiercely brilliant business tactic. Offering anything even remotely close to that high level of deep professional respect is something the WNBA fundamentally refuses to ever do. Artificially capping all player salaries serves purely as a sinister mechanism to severely restrict long-term earning potential across the entire aging league, proving their true intentions. Punishing massive individual success strictly to keep the heavily exhausted players firmly in their assigned place is the core foundation of their broken system. Rewarding massive, unprecedented success with equally massive, unprecedented financial compensation makes the stark contrast between the two organizations blindingly obvious to everyone watching. Watching their entire shaky organizational foundation aggressively crack under the intense pressure is the direct result of their own stubborn arrogance. Opting completely out of the highly restrictive collective bargaining agreement was the incredibly powerful first step taken by the highly unified players' union. Seeing the incredibly massive television broadcast deals finally woke the intensely frustrated athletes up from their long slumber. Realizing they were being aggressively scammed by the wealthy executives running the operation naturally sparked a massive, league-wide player rebellion. Staring down the dangerous barrel of a massive labor war is their current reality. Refusing to properly compensate the single biggest draw in the entire long history of the sport directly caused this massive, entirely avoidable crisis. Scrambling desperately to somehow find a viable countermove is entirely useless because the hidden reality clearly shows the traditional league is completely and utterly outmatched on every single level. Lacking the necessary financial flexibility and the highly progressive mindset required to actually fight back leaves them incredibly vulnerable to this aggressive attack. Relying entirely on pathetic corporate subsidies and embarrassing pity marketing for multiple decades prevented them from ever building a real, sustainable business model. Entering the competitive arena right now, highly aggressive private investors are completely changing the fundamental rules of the entire game. Pouring millions of their own personal dollars into the rival venture, massive professional athletes from other major global sports are heavily backing the new initiative. Leaving the severely outdated WNBA completely choking in the massive cloud of dust is the incredibly predictable outcome of this intense financial war. Concrete evidence highlighting the sheer, mind-boggling incompetence of the WNBA front office remains completely unavoidable no matter where you look. Enduring utterly horrific working conditions for entirely too many years became the sad, completely unacceptable normal for these elite professional athletes. Sharing cramped, deeply uncomfortable locker rooms while dealing constantly with completely canceled commercial airline flights severely damaged their physical and mental health. Playing intensely competitive games inside completely aging, heavily broken down athletic arenas featuring terrible training facilities actively endanger the players on a nightly basis. Ignoring every desperate complaint was their standard operating procedure. Telling the severely underpaid players to simply be incredibly grateful they even had a job perfectly illustrates their deeply manipulative, entirely gaslighting behavior that went completely unchecked for decades. ruling the entire struggling league strictly through intense intimidation, constant fear, and aggressive financial starvation worked perfectly until the hero of our story completely broke the wheel. Injecting millions of entirely new, fiercely loyal television viewers directly into the deeply dying ecosystem completely resurrected the failing sport, generating absolutely unprecedented, entirely massive gate revenue that the league had literally never seen before should have instantly triggered a massive financial reward. Breaking incredibly massive television ratings records that proudly stood untouched for several long decades brought an absolute flood of new cash into the organization. Quietly attempting to entirely pocket all of that newly generated cash without sharing a single dime completely exposed the true nature of the corrupt executives. Handing her a completely standard, highly restrictive rookie deal while arrogantly expecting a thankful smile was a massive, entirely disrespectful slap directly in the face. Assuming she would quietly accept her rigidly assigned place at the very absolute bottom of the toxic hierarchy was exactly what they foolishly expected her to do. Severely underestimating her sharp business acumen was their biggest mistake. Violently capitalizing on this completely monumental front office blunder is exactly what the rival league is doing by loudly offering absolutely crazy amounts of money that completely shift the balance of power. Offering a highly permanent, completely secure escape route entirely away from the relentless daily toxicity is the true hidden value of this massive proposal. Designing the entire 3-on-3 format specifically to be incredibly player-friendly heavily protects their highly valuable bodies while significantly reducing brutal physical wear and tear. Grinding their elite players completely down to the absolute bone is exactly what the intensely punishing schedule of the traditional league accomplishes every single year. Forcing the exhausted athletes to constantly play that relentlessly punishing schedule with completely inadequate, deeply substandard medical support actively shortens their highly lucrative careers. Providing truly state-of-the-art training facilities while strictly prioritizing long-term player health creates a highly attractive, entirely night and day difference that athletes simply cannot ignore. Terrifying the out-of-touch WNBA executives is exactly what happens when they deeply consider the incredibly dark historical precedent this unprecedented situation rapidly sets. Choosing the heavily funded rival league sends a massive, undeniable signal directly to every single young, highly talented college prospect currently watching this brutal war unfold. Positioning the once proud traditional league as absolutely nothing more than a cheap, highly disposable stepping stone means the front office definitively knows their restrictive monopoly is rapidly dying. Losing their total monopoly on talent means they lose everything. Relying entirely on violently trapping vulnerable players who have absolutely nowhere else to securely go is a vicious trap that is now permanently broken forever. Building a highly customized, extremely expensive ecosystem specifically designed to securely keep her completely happy proves the aggressive strategic moves by the rival league are absolutely brilliant. Signing the absolute most highly touted college basketball prospects to massive, fully guaranteed deals effectively secured the next highly lucrative generation of global superstars. Outmaneuvering the slow, deeply stubborn traditional league at every single highly publicized turn proves the WNBA front office is playing simple checkers, while the heavily funded rival league aggressively plays three-dimensional chess. Exposing the deeply bitter, highly toxic old guard players currently rotting in the WNBA is another massive, entirely unexpected benefit of this hostile takeover. Guarding their violently acquired territory and mercilessly bullying the younger, more highly talented players created a miserable, incredibly dark locker room culture of intense hazing and deep resentment. Actively enabling this entirely horrible, totally unacceptable behavior allowed the highly manipulative veterans to completely run the locker rooms through pure, unchecked physical intimidation. Stripping absolutely all of that deeply toxic garbage completely away focuses the massive new venture strictly on pure, undeniable athletic talent and massive global marketability. Providing a totally clean, highly professional slate where massive stars can actually shine without fear is exactly why the WNBA's desperate, incredibly pathetic attempts to blindly keep control are failing spectacularly. Hijacking the entire global sports news cycle humiliated the completely powerless front office, fully guaranteeing minimum six-figure base salaries for absolutely everyone while simultaneously offering an exclusive, highly lucrative equity pool that slowly vests over a 4-year period is completely staggering. Making the elite players incredibly rich, highly valued owners of the actual on-court product violently destroys the incredibly outdated WNBA from the inside out. Fielding angry, totally terrified phone calls from their massive corporate sponsors proves the traditional league office is currently stuck in total, fully panicked damage control. Questioning their massive financial investment is exactly what happens when major global brands suddenly see the incredibly clear writing firmly plastered on the wall. Knowing that if the absolute biggest global draw firmly leaves the massive viewership leaves directly with her makes the incredibly cheap traditional league suddenly look totally vulnerable. Restructuring the completely restrictive collective bargaining agreement only actually happened because their massive, totally illegal monopoly was directly and violently threatened by incredibly powerful outside forces. Suppressing player wages to strictly maximize their own massive financial leverage proves they were aggressively running a totally corrupt cartel to keep the vulnerable athletes entirely down. Breaking the rigidly rigged algorithm permanently forced the massive sports market to violently correct itself, leaving her holding the ultimate, entirely game-changing trump card. Refusing to show basic professional respect completely doomed the incredibly arrogant front office, and the final buzzer has officially sounded on the utterly corrupt old guard.